And because of that, we have a guest on the line joining us, Kamal Mustadza. He's a fund manager at the Sharia fintech firm Wahid. Kamal, what do you make of that announcement? What's your first impression of our new economy minister?
Thank you, Ibrahim. So I think from what Rashid has mentioned, he clearly said that it is premature to actually discuss any specific policy. So I think it is remains to be seen on what he and his ministry can do for in terms of the policy making for the economy. But I think the fact that he addressed the press, on his first day at his job, so I think it really tries to assure the market that he has already been in touch with the EPU, been in touch with all the stakeholders to ensure that the economy is being taken care of.
Talking about the markets, there are some companies that have already posted results. In fact, CGS-CIMB posted a note saying that the ratio of companies posting results is above their expectations, and it rose 38% in the third quarter of this season, while the ratio of underperformers also rose to 26%. And some of the sectors that needs to be looked at includes consumer, property, REIT companies, as this accounts for 40% of the total companies that beat expectations. Because of this, do you think that there will be some sectorial looks into what Rafiz is going to do and perhaps rehabilitate some of these sectors? Or do you think that this is more of income towards the government and he thinks that he needs to focus on how to improve the income, which is, I guess, coded message that GST might come into play in the near future?
Yeah, I think personally, it's more towards the last part that you mentioned. I think in the end for the country, I think they really need to focus on getting the sustainable revenue from all these corporates. Yes, I think we do see, some sectoral, some sectors benefit, like you said, consumer, property and REIT, but that's because I think we are still in the economic reopening phase where these consumer names actually benefit from all this growing consumer spending. And then I think the decliners, I think those sectors that actually posted earnings below expectation, definitely they are a reflection of the global economic slowdown that we are seeing so far. So I think when it comes to the government, the focus is more on the income as a whole. So that's why I think there's I don't foresee any kind of sectors being targeted by the government. Yeah.
One thing that we need to look at is the introduction or the reintroduction of unpopular policies. GST may just be one of the many, but targeted subsidies and many more, including that of petrol subsidies, trying to get more money from Petronas, for instance, oil dividends. Some of these things might not necessarily be sustainable, but some are. However, most are going to be unpopular. How do you think this government is going to navigate itself, considering that many of the medicine that we have to take is actually quite bitter? How do you think this is going to be massaged to the public, Kamal?
Because, like I said just now, I think the focus of the government must be in terms on trying to, getting the sustainable revenue, but at the same time, they have to address the spending. And of course, this actually, the two most policies that will be impacted by this is the reintroduction of GST as well as the targeted subsidy. I think it is probably a bit too early for the government to actually introduce these two measures because given the unpopularity of the measures that have an impact to the people, but I think they should actually start the conversation now in terms of trying to prepare the people, prepare the corporates in what to be expected in the next 2-3 years.
The estimates that is coming in from CGS-CIMB's notes this morning shows that the 2023 forecast earnings will be partially driven by the expiry of Cukai Makmur. This is following the third quarter earnings season. CGS-CIMB now estimates that KLCI's core net profit to grow by negative 2.9% to positive 12.8% in the 2022 forecast to 2023 forecast. The slight downgrade in the 2022 forecast earnings comes from some companies like Petchem or IHH Healthcare, while the 2023 forecast growth will be predominantly driven by banks, likely, according to CGS-CIMB, 20% earnings expansion. And because of this expiry of Cukai Makmur, do you feel that some of the corporates can use some of their retained earnings to grow their companies even further and perhaps even grow the KLCI's earnings in general or broadly even higher for 2023?
I think when it comes to 2023, I think if we look at the global headlines, I think 2023 is going to be still a challenging year. So I guess for corporates, even if they got the benefit from the expiry of Cukai Makmur, they might actually hold up in terms of the capex, just to ensure that they can actually use that excess cash to actually navigate through a tough time.
Kamal, also, sorry, we kind of lost you, Kamal. Okay, so Kamal, final question before we take a look into some other sectors. There are some notion that the CGS-CIMB and many other research houses, for this, for that matter, has published their notes this morning, and they are neutral on the new cabinet, and they are also neutral on the recently announced slimmer cabinet. But many are saying that they are quite optimistic in terms of looking at the ability for this cabinet to stabilize itself. From the eyes of an investor, being a fund manager yourself, are you likely to be focusing more on government policies to tackle cost of living, as well as what's going to happen in the parliamentary sitting on the December 19th? Or what other areas do you think that investors are keeping an eye out for in Malaysia when it comes to attracting new investments for the fourth quarter as well as for 2023?
So, all right, I think so. As the first parliamentary sitting is going to happen on the December 19th, I think the first test for the Prime Minister is actually to ensure that he has enough support from the MPs. So I guess as long as there's no political uncertainties, that is something that will be taken positively by the market. And then I think you mentioned the cabinet itself. So the way I see it, I think focus on the cabinet, I think for me myself, it's more towards on those who actually hold the finance portfolio, the economic portfolio, as well as the VP portfolio. So if you look at the combination, is for me, I do look at it in the combination of the old face, meaning we have Anwar who has been there in the 1990s, and at the same time we have a combination with current face, which is Temple Saprul, which is the previous finance minister, and also we have the new face in the sense of Fizi Ramli with his so many ideas. So I guess to see the combination of these three individuals is something that investors are looking towards to see on how they will navigate the economic challenges in 2024.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kamal. That was Kamal Mustadza, the fund manager at Wahid Investment.